Wow, and what an amazing fireside panel that was. And that was with Lynn and the amazing Chantal as well, talking about leadership. But now we have an amazing roundtable coming up, talking about deeply human, designing real presidents in immersive spaces. If I could ask all panelists on this lovely, big, massive roundtable that we have right now, actually, if we can have ask all panelists to mute their microphones, that'd be much appreciated. And also, welcome, if you just joined us, to GatherVerse North America Tech for Humanity Summit Day 1. We also have another amazing day coming up tomorrow as well. And we also have more roundtables coming up as well, and lots to come too. So, anyway, let's get straight into the roundtable discussion. So what we're going to do is have each individual person quickly introduce themselves. So we'll start with Alison, Larry, and Sean, and then we'll go to Spyro, then Lauren, Casey, Asante, and Catherine. And if you could just keep it very short, maybe 30 seconds to 60 seconds of introducing yourself, and then we'll get straight into the questions. So Alison, please introduce yourself. Who are you, Alison?
Hi, I'm Alison Morano. I'm located in Florida. I am the founder of the Metaverse Chamber of Commerce, and I build immersive spaces that help businesses see what they can do in the new Web3 environment and introducing gamification and bringing their businesses forward. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you.
Welcome, Alison, and thank you for joining us once again. And it's great to see you once again as well. Larry, I think this is the first time I've seen you, so please, well, you might have been there a few times before, who knows, but please do introduce yourself.
I've been around for a while. My name is Larry Rosenthal, Quebec czar, also a vice chair of the LAC Graph group here in LA. I've been around this VR world and the new media world for about 30, 35 years. So maybe I have seen me. And again, as a designer and a creator, producer, I've been, I say, doing all this kind of work and every bit of it for a long time.
Well, thank you for joining us, Larry, and it's great to have such an OG like yourself in the room. So thank you for joining us. Welcome. Sean, great to see you again, my friend. Please tell everyone who you are. I know who you are, but who are you?
How's it going, Russell? Thanks for having me. I'm Sean Mann, CEO and founder of RP1. We created the first 3D browser that will basically enable people to build any content, whether virtual worlds or things for the future of AR, on their own servers by owning their own infrastructure, just like you build your own web infrastructure. And the browser is a neutral company that is able to connect, or I should say technology that connects to your server to anyone in the world, where we've solved 3 technologies. We can scale to unlimited number of users, an unlimited map of the entire world, and you can inject any real-time service through the browser, which is all 3 things that no company has solved.
Well, thank you for joining us, Sean, and that sounds amazing too. Is it Spyro or Spyro? I mean, correct me if I've got your name wrong there, please. But please introduce yourself.
Hello, hopefully you can hear me. Good day, good afternoon at all the places of the globe. Russell, can you hear me good?
It's a little bit faint, but I mean, we'll give it a go and see how it goes.
All right, yeah, so my name is Spyro Estes. I'm the CEO and founder of a company located in the Netherlands. It's called GatherVerse, and we're focusing on the digital transformation of a broad variety of sectors: agriculture, healthcare, education, and biotech.
Well, thank you for joining us. And Lauren, I mean, we've got to say hello to you and your dog, of course. Hello!
Hi, I'm Lauren. I am the producer of Virtual World Society and the AI XR podcast, along with being the staff and community manager of Virtual World Society. I got a master's in VR in London, and I studied game design and education over there. Yeah, I'm just excited to be here and continue coming to these panels. They've been a lot of fun.
It's great to have another Brit on the panel as well, by the way. I know we're in North America right now, but it's great to have another local person like myself. So thank you for joining us, Lauren. It's great to see you once again as well, as always, at GatherVerse. Casey, a legend, OG, like, please introduce yourself. I've seen you so many times as well, but it's great to see you again. Please introduce yourself.
Yeah, hey, everyone. I'm Casey Jensen. I'm currently head of client partnerships at a company called Zebrar. I've been, I started in ad tech with Google back in the day, opened up one of the early offices for Google. And then the last several years, I've been working in immersive tech, helping brands and organizations use XR, virtual environments, and interactive content to educate and tell more human stories. I mean, that's what we all want to do.
Absolutely, Casey, and thank you for joining us once again. And Asante, I think this might be your first time, so please introduce yourself, and also welcome to GatherVerse Tech for Humanity Summit.
Yeah, thank you all for having me. My name is Asante Asiedu. I'm the founder of UDISA. We are an XR consulting firm supporting educators and facilitators as they begin to implement XR technologies into their classrooms. We gamify curriculum and create pathways for students that are trying to get into workforce training with just interactive games that utilize the technology.
That's great to hear that, by the way, and it's great to also hear that you're a fellow gamer like myself. Who, well, I haven't played for games in like 5 to 10 years. It feels a very long time, but it's great to have you with us, Asante. And last but not least, Catherine, welcome. Good to see you again. Please introduce yourself.
Welcome back, and hello again to the panelists I've shared this with before, and hello to the new ones. I'm Catherine Cavanaugh, go by Katie, founder of Screen360 TV, which is a learning platform that provides learning motivation through equitable access to a travel-like experience. And we know what travel does for us, gives us perspective, reflection, objectivity. And a lot of young people don't have access to that. So we present that through international films and discussed and co-viewed with international peers, giving learners the recognition that they share the earth with people, with young people growing up and watching the world at the same time they are. And we want to give them an opportunity to meet each other.
100%. And thank you for joining us, Catherine. And last but not least, it's technically myself, but I call Catherine, the last person. But anyway, I would introduce myself. My name's Russell. I am the Director of Partnerships at GatherVerse, and I'm also the co-founder at Just Verify. And Just Verify is building the trust layer infrastructure for AI. And basically our mission in a nutshell is to verify the integrity and trustworthiness of AI models to ensure the responsible adoption so that we can create a future in which everyone can trust AI. Hopefully. Right, so let's get straight into the roundtable discussion. So, question 1, and I'm very excited about this because I can't wait to sort of talk about immersive experiences and metaverses and everything like that. This is kind of like my old Web3 sort of background, coming into me now. But anyway, so the question is, in immersive spaces, what entirely new forms of human connection might emerge? So, anything could happen technically. So do you know what, Sean, I know you're a legend, so I want you to kickstart off this panel. And what are your thoughts on this question?
Well, I guess the hot take, which some may agree or some are really excited about, is AR glasses are going to replace mobile phones. And AR glasses are going to make VR, I believe, more relevant. I think people will be able to put a VR headset on at the comfort of their home and join anybody in the real world instantly. And with AR glasses, it will allow you to walk around the real world and connect to companies and services that are built by them. So imagine if I'm walking down the street and I go to a bank or walk into Walmart, I'll be greeted by Walmart's infrastructure, their servers, and instantly be able to interact with an AI that helps me find the toilet paper in aisle 5, or their employees, how they manage all of their warehousing or moving products. Every single company is going to move from web infrastructure to spatial infrastructure. And I believe AR glasses is going to be one of the biggest transitions that we're going to see over the next handful of years.
100% agree. And obviously we've seen, all of us have seen Meta and obviously Ray-Ban. Ray-Ban, is it? I can't remember the brand name now. But the AI glasses that they have. So we all know that sort of news. So that's nothing new. But I do 100% agree with you, Sean. And Larry, let's go over to yourself, and then Alison will head over to you next. What are your thoughts on what entirely new forms of human connection might emerge in this immersive world?
Well, I mean, essentially, immersive spaces are all, they're all fake. They're all mediated spaces. They're things that we create.
Mhm.
So, when you say what new forms, you're right. I mean, with whatever we can imagine. I mean, you can see different forms of even languages, and what we're doing is fooling our five senses in an immersive space. So everything from I mean, in a sense, sign language was a new form of communication for deaf people. There may be some sort of haptic-based language that gets created that people communicate from and connect with, that only certain people connect with. There could be all sorts of different high concept ideas that might form. I mean, this is an imaginative space. There's nothing to really control what's going to happen in it based on what we design into it. That's why I stayed in this so long, because this is a pivotal time in the human condition where we're completely able to design our surroundings, which which up until now, I mean, again, my background is design and architecture and things of that nature. They were limited by reality, by by the rain, by a hurricane, by nature, by weather change, climate.
Yeah.
In these spaces, all of that, though being affected by the outside, of course, while inside the space, while tricking yourself to be in an immersive space, it's kind of a wide open gamut that might emerge over the next 50 years.
I mean, who knows what new forms of human connection is going to happen within that space? And we think about let's just I mean, and Alison, we're going to go across to you next with this question. If we chuck in AI into the mix, right? And AI is going to create these on-demand immersive experiences that adapts in real time and changes, etc. And you can have NPCs and all this sort of stuff. What new forms of human connection might emerge in this sort of reality, even if AI is, changing things as you literally walk into it, so to speak?
So I'm taking in everything everybody's saying. And by the way, I did try the new Ray-Bans. I was at MetaConnect, and they are very cool.
Okay.
But and it completely brings in the AI form. In my immersive spaces, we are playing with I'm creating NPCs and thinking of the different ways that the NPC itself can engage the player, and that sparks a whole new conversation. Going back to a non kind of technical side of it, the human connection piece that I keep going around is that we've already seen this in the spaces and in the world. I'm in RP1 all the time, Sean. And and I use Horizon and I use Multiverse and Engage, and
Okay.
I just meet people all day long. Yesterday, someone said something interesting to me. They were traveling overseas with a 12-hour time difference, and they would go in on their daytime now, which was different than their usual daytime, and they met an entirely new global group of people from those that are awake at that time. For there are people who come in at all times, but that was an entirely new connection and a new culture. So you can become immersed in all of those things. But going back to the glasses, somebody pointed out that it will actually bring back a connection. We're going to go kind of a little bit in reverse. And the fact that the glasses are now on your eyes, where you look straight forward at it, rather than constantly checking our devices like we do, and breaks connection a lot with people sitting right across from us. This will, I think, bring back a lot of connection that we have lost over the last decades, I suppose.
Okay.
And I thought that was very, very interesting.
Yeah.
These glasses have something called focus built into them that I'm hoping will be in all glasses moving forward. I completely agree. The glasses moving forward also will bring the headset into a much easier way to use them, with just the weight of glasses versus an entire headset. to get into VR. But the focus lets you, it drowns out the ambient noise and only talks to the people you are looking at and brings their voice right to you, and then gets wider as more people join the conversation directly in front of you. There's just all types of things. And that's, just listening to this conversation made me think of all of that.
No, that's very interesting. I do. It does make you think, like, is it going to bring us closer? I mean, we look at our mobile phones every day, and then, we're looking at these AR glasses. And then the fact that you said that it brings that human connection is very interesting how that does. And it's like, it's also like, what is the psychology behind that? And I mean, obviously you can kind of go more in depth on that side of things, but it's just very interesting how that works and how the new devices are able to do that. So, so thank you for sharing that, Alison. And I want to bring in Lauren into the conversation, and also we'll head over to Casey, and then Spyro. I think we'll head over to you very shortly after we've gone to Lauren and Casey, which is, what ethical measures are needed to make presence in immersive spaces feel authentic and not manipulative or performative? So, we're just talking about AI. We're talking about, AI creating these immersive experiences on demand. Alison saying about how it's bringing more human connection. So, Lauren, what is your thoughts on this particular question when it comes to what ethical measures are needed to make presence in immersive spaces feel more authentic?
Okay, great question. I think for one, having like a human greeter, I think taking just having like the layer of authenticity, and also being transparent. So like laying out the guidelines as you would in any event or movie or experience in real life. So informed consent and just having people be aware of what they're getting into. And then also just being really intentional with your design. Yeah. So I think, just kind of like laying things out. And the most important thing is like transparency here.
100% agree. Do you also think, and I'll just ask a follow-up question to that, Lauren, do you also think like accountability could be a part of that too, in order to stop manipulation or any sort of performative happening in these spaces?
And having like places for people to go if they do have anything that makes them feel uncomfortable, or feedback, and having like feedback forums, and having a place for people to go and talk about their experience and what they would have done differently and what they want to see in future experiences and stuff like that. So having like a place so people can speak about their experiences.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%, Lauren. And Casey, do you agree as well?
Yeah, I mean, this is something that's sort of really interesting to me, because it's, we didn't do a very good job of it back early days of ad tech and programmatic marketing. We did a really poor job of it. And I think, now we have to, we have the chance to do something right. And I think starting with transparency, consent, and agency, and people should, know what's being tracked and why. And presence shouldn't focus on just extracting engagement. It should invite participation. I think we need to let users feel in control of their story, not directed by it. And, when it starts to feel real, not performative, I think that's where we are. So, yeah.
No, I 100% agree. And I've seen a comment actually just come in. I'm going to bring up on the screen. Captain Walker, she says, "Are we heading to Ready Player One? I ask this in sincerity. Is this realistically possible? I never thought we'd have the type of technologies we're seeing today." Yeah, completely agree. And we'll fire that question to Asante in just a minute. But Spyro, I can't get your name right. I do apologize. But what are your thoughts on, from your point of view, what ethical measures are needed to make presence in immersive spaces feel authentic?
Yes, hopefully now you can hear me better because I changed my mic. A small correction, my name is Orestes. My surname is Piru. You can always call me Orestes, Russell.
Orestes, thank you. Appreciate that.
Don't worry. So when we're talking about ethical measures that they have to be taken into consideration, we're talking about all the regulatory framework that it has to be somehow made in coordination with the policy-making authorities, but also with the whole domain of the XR technologies and the next generation of immersive internet, which is like institutions, academic institutions, or other type of institutions. When we're talking about virtual presence of NPCs, there have to be some ethical boundaries in these NPCs in order not to manipulate, let's say, for example, a consumer's decision in a supermarket towards a need or a good that it's not so healthy for him or her. So we're talking about all the ethical guidelines that they have to be taken into place regarding a fair distribution of data for the benefit of mankind. But also in terms if you take into consideration the design phase, the NPCs, they have to be placed in a boundary with the viewer, which will be an AR end user or a VR end user, in order for the end user not to have like the let's say the fear of accepting and having a conversation with a real NPC.
I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. So in a nutshell, really, like, from the kind of just general sort of just kind of summarizing it up, basically we need to have the right policies in place to align NPCs with human values and put the right guardrails in place so that they align with the human values in a nutshell and the policies. So if we look at that, and Asante, we're about to bring you into this conversation too. If we look at that, how do we make sure that it's continuously aligned with that, right? What is it that we need to put in place other than, because we talk about guardrails all the time, but I mean, AI is so smart, it could potentially go around those guardrails, right? If you think about it, especially when we're talking about super intelligence and artificial general intelligence, if they're more smarter than the entire mankind, then we could potentially get around these guardrails, including when it comes to fully autonomous. So Asante, and I don't want to kind of dive down that rabbit hole too much, and I'm just going to sort of pivot across a little bit. I'm going to ask Captain Walker's question, which is, are we heading into Ready Player One?
I personally, I don't believe that like as an end of like where we're headed, that Ready Player One is where the technology is headed. I think there will always be those human interactions, and I think that they're critical for us to really be able to get value out of the technology. I will say that for like ethical frameworks, something that I have been leaning back on are Adinkra symbols, and these are West African philosophy, and they are different aphorisms that have historically kind of guided community within these Ghanaian specifically, but African communities. I think that there have been a lot of, I would say, like building that's taking place that while incorporating these type of guardrails can support something that is a little bit more ethical when it comes to AI's involvement in immersive spaces. But as far as Ready Player One goes, where everyone is, I say, like living in like kind of those, like little shells and going in. I'm not sure that we're headed to a fully Ready Player One kind of.
Captain Walker, that was a great question, by the way. And Asante, you answered that very well. So thank you for going with me on that journey. It was a bit of a fun side question. Catherine, let's bring this back to our main questions now, which is, what are the social responsibilities of creators when designing these immersive spaces? I mean, you think about it, like, this is just being able to create like recreate your house, or go to like some holiday place, destination that you'll never visit but you want to experience it still. We talk about all these different crazy experiences that we can go to, but what are the social responsibilities of creators when designing these spaces, Catherine?
Right. Thanks for that question. It's very important, of course, to do your user research. And we've been talking the need to do need finding, to understand that there is first acceptance and a need to go to these places with your product, and take your time with the research. I mean, rushing into something is not going to help you create a product that sticks. So really have to be deliberate in your intention to bring something that is useful and helpful to a community. Lauren mentioned moderators. Screen 360 TV uses moderators not only to keep the workflow of our sessions going, but also to make all of those involved feel more comfortable that there is a referee in the room. And,
Got you.
Yep.
Yeah. And also, you don't want an AI referee that's kind of biased, like
Right.
all of a sudden, let's say me and Sean, and they're in this, immersive VR world, and Sean's like, and the AI goes, yeah, Sean won. I'm like, I haven't even done nothing yet.
Right, exactly. And the assessments have to be transparent. And so those have to be designed so that audiences can see them both immediately and ongoing on your platform.
That's well said. And Catherine, I couldn't agree with you more. Research, and research.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go on to the next question now, which is, how can immersive spaces balance stimulation and stillness for users? So, Catherine, thank you so much for sharing. And we'll head over to Alison, because I'm very interested to hear your thoughts on this, because, you brought some fantastic points in human connection and the AR glasses bringing us together. So I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this as well.
Okay, thank you. So this is an interesting question, because I think a lot to tie into the social responsibility and the ethical concerns, you really want to give users a safe space where they need it. And I think a lot of worlds are built for excitement right now. And you can go into things without knowing whether the person coming in is going to have fear or some sort of response to what you've built, without being able to find a safe space. So you want to make sure there are different levels of things. I was actually just thinking, I have a section in my chamber website, my chamber world in Horizon. I also have other worlds, but the bigger one that I have, something that's kind of like stimulating, is that there's a roller coaster. And it's very easy right now to fall out of this roller coaster up in space. And I always warn people, because it's really fun, but I like to make sure that people feel safe while they're in there. I've also got areas where you can go and you can read and you can visit other worlds. So you really do have to find that balance, especially if you've got a really large world like I've created. There are smaller game worlds where people know right away going in. And I've noticed that different apps create buttons now, which I think are really important for you to be able to get into a privacy bubble, or to be able to go immediately into pause, and all of this goes to stimulation and stillness. So you want to know beforehand to read a good description, but you also have to balance, like the question says, to be able to have people who come in and are overwhelmed, a way to change the sound and a way to be able to participate or to get out of it. I think that's the biggest thing about stimulation and stillness, is giving the user the choice to balance their own environment for themselves, so that even if something you're in there playing is very stimulating and crazy, you need a way to back out of it pretty easily. As opposed to even having an area that is very, very quiet. away from it.
That is
And
so. Sorry, continue. I didn't mean to
no,
cut
no,
you
no.
off.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that's very interesting, Alison, and it just makes me think about if we wear Meta's glasses and Ray-Bans, right? How are we supposed to do that when we get out of that, and how are we supposed to put those sort of right safety protocols in place, so to speak, to be able to do that, right?
Yeah, I'm wondering, when you said that, I thought of my car, where if it thinks that I'm drifting a little bit, it'll go, is it time to take a break? Or do you need coffee? My car actually asks me that if it thinks that I've been staring forward too long, or haven't moved or something when I'm driving really far. Maybe the glasses will say, maybe you need a break from whatever it is that you're doing around other people.
That's very interesting. But anyway, thank you for sharing, Alison. That's the most funniest thing that I've heard so far. But anyway, Larry and Lauren will head over to you both next. I like to mix things up a little bit, so we'll just be heading over to you in just a second. But before we do that, I did see this comment earlier, which I just want to bring up. This is from Celestia. She says, I think designing immersive spaces so that they feel cozy when you come in, not too vast to get lost in, ensuring users are not being bombarded by too many advertisements. So that's what she said on that. So, Larry, let's start with you. How should we think about memory and identity when experiences feel real but exist digitally?
Well, I mean, these are, memory and identity are the things that are coming in with you. And, these, again, are designed interfaces. So, the, and as I said, they can feel real. That's what we've been, that's what all our media has been moving to over the last 100 years is, is simulating more and more realistic images so that, when the first movies came out, people were sitting there watching the train come at them and were all frightened, thinking the train was going to come off the screen because they'd never seen a two-dimensional projected movie large. And of course, radio and television these things have been mediating us and creating the world that we live in, for better or worse, for a long time. Obviously, memory and identity in the age of the internet, this is one of the things that the people are finally waking up to as what's been lost so quickly. Is that again? I mean, I go, just myself. I go back 40 years almost, it seems, digitally, and most of that work is lost. Most of that memory that's on the internet doesn't find it anymore because we chose, and this is something which to think about. You mentioned Google. We chose relevancy over value in our search engine, so that even though maybe the greatest, the greatest painting or the greatest catastrophe that was 20 years ago, 30 years ago, doesn't show up very much on Google because it's not as popular as Donald Trump or a pop singer or whoever it is that's getting all the the trending of the moment. So that's something to think about. I mean, I'll just say that these if this is the next internet and it's starting again, how do we then look to almost like the Wayback Machine? The Wayback Machine didn't even have and still doesn't have immersive content on it. It takes GIFs and text, maybe some Flash, maybe some PDF, but there's no history to the digital on the internet, truly. So that's something we're gonna have to think about as we move forward now into be it a 3D web, Sean's pushing, or a metaverse, whatever name we call it. But if it's this next generation of an internet that we're building.
I mean, you bring out some very very wide, interesting points there. I mean, there's so much I can jump onto. I will say my personal interesting part in everything that you said was when you'd go to the cinema, you'd watch a film, you'd get all that experience, which is obviously an immersive experience, so to speak, right? Because you've got speakers all around, you're watching the screen, etc. Then they have the 3D version when the 3D version first come out, and you're wearing these 3D glasses, and they come out the screen. You're like, whoa, right? And then the next step now is we're at these VR glasses now, AR and XR glasses, or in a nutshell. And you go into when you're wearing these glasses, and you go into that experience, and it's even more immersive now, like because it's literally right in front of your eyes, and you're taken around everywhere you go. So, Lauren, let's bring you into this discussion. How should we think about memory and identity when experiences feel real but exist digitally? Like, what is your personal thoughts? Being educated from London and from the UK.
Yeah. Okay. So because of these experiences being so real, our minds are remembering the virtual experiences as real. So that basically puts the designer as a memory maker. So whatever they're creating for the user to see, the user's going to take away. So that makes it, as a designer, it's not just an ethical role, it's a creative role now. So you have a lot of power here. And I think something that's really important is the memory stewardship. So the designers hold the responsibility for the emotional imprint that they're leaving on the user whenever they walk away. So it's important to have like a full experience. So like the beginning, having a message, having transitions, and an ending with a meaning. So something that somebody can walk away and be like, okay, this is what I got from this experience. Also just like debriefing moments, kind of like we were talking about earlier, like a space where they can go and decompress and make it their own. So with immersive experiences, I think it's really important and powerful. As this tool, you can have like multiple different endings. So just thinking of all the different outcomes and having different like spaces and reflection questions for the user, kind of how I mentioned earlier, you can have like response forms. So I think that's something that's really powerful in allowing the user to kind of like wrap their head around everything that is happening and the message of the overall experience.
No, I was going to say, Lauren, that's you bring up some very good points. And when I think about identity and memory, and basically like my identity in this virtual world and virtual space, and having my memories in there, I want to be able to work with AI to create those memories, put them together on demand, so that basically, if I'm thinking about something, I should be on demand that it can create that world. So, for example, if I'm thinking, I want to be, not that I would go there, but I want to be in the middle of the Amazon forest, right? I wouldn't personally go there, to be honest. But, if you're in the middle of Amazon forest, you want to be able to have that experience on demand. And then you want to switch, let's say, to the Sahara Desert, right? You should be able to just jump there instantly and have those experiences, but also be able to bring your identity with you. And then, also when we talk about extended memory, especially when it comes to AI, the extended memory of AI is growing every single day. ChatGPT has very good extended memory, right? When it comes to, agentics, and also, GPT-5 and GPT-4, etc. But they're extending their memory all the time. So as we extend this memory, these immersive experiences are going to become better and better and better. It's going to remember exactly what you're going to do. It's going to make these experiences even better. And then when we're talking about these VR and AR experiences, or wearing the glasses, or being in these immersive worlds, right? I think that's where it's really going to come to life, so to speak, with everything that we're building. And it's not Roblox or Fortnite, which people think anymore, right? Because that's what people think when they talk about metaverse. They think, oh, Roblox. It's more than that, of course. But to your point, Lauren, the point I'm getting at is when it comes to memory identity, it's important that we have that and we are able to integrate that. And I completely agree with everything that you're saying. So thank you so much for sharing, Lauren. That was a bit long-winded, but I just kind of wanted to add my 2 cents into there, so to speak. And Sean, I'm always curious, from your point of view, Sean, because you work in, the VR, XR, AR industry day in, day out. You're building all different immersive experiences. You see from your customers, what their feedback is, and everything that's being experienced. We're in the modern day time now, but what is like the next step? As in, what roles do smell, touch, subtle body cues sort of thing, play in creating these deep presences, and how well can we make these immersive technologies replicate all that? Like, can we have robot hands where I can feel your touch, or what is it that we can do to add these other parts to this experience?
Yeah, I'm probably not going to go too deep because I think a lot of this stuff is way too abstract. So we start going into, robotic hands and things. I think that's a whole layer beyond. Let's get to the point where we can just interact with each other as close to reality as possible. And I think
Agreed.
having the visual cues. So if you think of simple technologies and where we're going, I think businesses and people want to connect as close to reality as possible. And a lot of people are like, well, we don't want Ready Player One. And I think Ready Player One was this big game. But in reality, we still spend 7 on average hours a day on the internet, right?
That's
and some
crazy.
people even as high as 10 hours. So the question is, we're going to replace that with something, right? Because the reason why we spend that much time is because we're not around real people. It's not that we don't want to be around people, but they're spread around all over the world, different offices, different family members, everything imaginable. And these technologies are going to allow us to basically have someone join me in the real world instantly and be able to interact with them. But I still want to have that level of presence where I can see their facial expressions. Seeing a very cold or dystopian kind of avatar does not necessarily give you that safe feeling that I'm with an actual human being and I can actually interact with them the same way that we feel and are with each other in real life. So when we have a conversation in real life, I can see your expressions. I can see the way you nod. I can see your nonverbals and the things that really help that warmth or that interaction between individuals. And that allows you to feel, is this person safe? Is it someone I want to enjoy a conversation with? Do I trust them? There's all these things that these expressions invoke inside naturally in human expression. And I think when you think of the future of AR glasses, having someone that is remote join you and be able to see those facial expressions, I think are a non-negotiable. I think these are things that we need to really impact our relationships, whether it's work or personal or education. It really doesn't matter. And so I think that's probably the next biggest step, is really bring in those feature sets that enable us to have those kind of visual things that we are used to in real life. And one thing I kind of want to add also is I think a lot of people feel like the idea of the metaverse or Ready Player One is going to replace real life. And I think it's really supposed to augment real life. And what I mean by that is that we're always going to choose in-person relationships or experiences. I always want to be with somebody, but if I can't have that, do I want to stare at a 2D thing, or do I want to be someone actually join me in my visual experience and get that as close to reality 2.0 that we can get? And I think that's what XR is truly for. It's not really for us to really leave the real world. And so I want to make sure that's kind of understood.
Celeste Leah says 100 to what you were just saying there. Sean.
Thanks, Celeste. I like Celeste. Celeste is the bomb. Thanks, Celeste.
But yeah, I do agree as well. The combination of the physical world and the digital world coming together into one. Completely agree with you. And when you put over the glasses and you have the second sort of reality, as you're saying, Sean, 100% agree.
Well, and also just there's a big difference between VR and AR, right? So VR is when I'm in my house and I want to go somewhere that I can't be there. So obviously I need VR because it needs to show me the entire environment. And eventually those big clunky things will eventually be what are called VR glasses. They're going to be as small as glasses that just have a covering that enabled me to be immersed because I need to block the lighting. But AR is for walking around in the real world. And so I'm able to see through the glasses, just like your phone. But the funny thing is, we're all going to laugh when people walk around with their phone trying to do this in the real world, staring at this tiny little 6-inch screen, versus AR glasses allows me to see the entire thing in front of me with some type of things that assist, whether it's seeing people or information. And so it's this is going to be terrible when we have the metaverse. XR devices are going to win over any flat 2D websites. 2D devices that were made for 2D websites.
So to Sean's point, we're running out of time. So what I want to do is, because we've only got 4 or 5 minutes left, so what I want to do is I want to go around each individual person, and I want to get 30 seconds or less from your thoughts. And also we'll start with you, Catherine, and then work our way backwards so that we can get everyone's opinion and thoughts. Catherine, and this is a question for everybody, so you might want to think of your answer ahead of time. But Catherine, what would you like to see in the future when it comes to this interactive virtual world, like what is one thing that you would like to see in the future come, I guess, reality, so to speak?
I'd like to see what Screen 360 TV is doing be activated through 3 hubs in the world, where we have a moderated session engaging the 8-hour time zone or clock, 8-hour clock from those 3 locations, and a moderator engaging remote classrooms to watch a film together, and to Sean's point, bringing them as close together as physically together. So there's no glasses, no goggles, just enjoying that empathetic exchange that the cinema gives us now. So this is what I would like to see in the future.
That's 100% true, and thank you for sharing that, Catherine. Asante, same question to you. What's one thing that you would like to see in the future when it comes to these immersive worlds for yourself?
Yeah, I would like to see real-time analysis for skill building. I think it would be great, especially for, developing nations and, just, again, upskilling across the board for, these tools to be able to, I want to learn, how to change a tire, how to, become an optic technician. And you can put that on and it will walk you through that process in a way that is organic and that is, very natural for all those young folks who are growing up. So,
Casey, same question for yourself, and thank you for sharing, Asante. One thing that you would like to see in the future for these immersive worlds?
I think I'm most excited about just being able to be highly personalized and be able to understand where I am in that moment and what I want to be able to see or experience, whether that's tied into wearables with AI to be able to understand, hey, I just ran a mile and my heartbeat's really high and I want to be able to relax, or be able to understand other areas that I'm coming from right now. With AI right now, every morning when I walk my dog, I talk to ChatGPT and I'm talking about my day, and it amazes me that, the other day it said, Casey, what's wrong? You don't seem like your normal self. How are you feeling today? You seem a little bit down. And I was just stressed about something. And it was like, it was really sort of interesting, a little scary, but it was interesting to me that it understood that. And I think bringing those type of things into these worlds to personalize the experience and highly personalize it is really cool. But I think my biggest thing is just being able to use these technologies to, especially these days in our world, being able to bring the world closer together, more empathy, more connection, and understanding. I think that's where we can really utilize these technologies to solve big problems right now, is if we can get people access to be able to start experiencing each other and understanding how we're not that different.
Completely agree, Casey, and also Salvation even agrees. This is great perspective there to you, Casey. So Salvation agrees with what you're saying. Lauren, please, what is one thing that you would like to see in the future with these immersive worlds, immersive experiences? Like, what's one thing that you would like to see? And then we'll head over to Orestes, and then we'll go to Sean, Larry, and then Alison.
I want to see a world that just has immersive technology with no friction. So like a lot of kind of like what Sean's creating, where you can just like click a link and hop into it and everybody can be in the same space. Like I really like the idea of I feel like a lot of times with all these headsets and different platforms, like there's just a lot of like things being broken because people are like frustrated because they have to download an app and stuff like that. So I just want it to be really easy to use, and I want everyone to have it. I think that's going to be a really exciting time. And I also think it'll empower people to create their own experiences.
I love that, Lauren. So very simple, straight to the point. Like, I just love it. Honestly, it's great, Lauren. Thank you. Orestes, what is your one thing that you would like to see?
Yes. To begin with, the first immersive world that I was introduced was the real world, as I went outside of the tummy of my mother. So I would like to wish, first of all, in this world, some peace, health, and happiness that can translate either from the boundaries perspective of sustainability into the digital world, so that they can help us evolve as human beings and connect and recreate boundaries that they don't have, even the spatial boundaries. Ethical usage and deployment of these technologies for better mankind. And yeah, let's go.
Captain Walker agrees. Yes, Orestes, peace, health, and happiness. Also, Celeste even agrees as well. Larry, Sean, Alison, please keep it short because we literally run over time right now. So, quickly, one thing that you would like to see in the future. Quickly, Larry.
More media education that's dealing with the overlap of real life civics and virtual life civics. And because we certainly don't have enough of that at this moment, and we haven't had enough of it for the last 60 years either. So we need to deal with media education. So while we're building and creating fantasies, we're trying to ground them in a reality that we've already experienced.
Sean, what are your thoughts? One thing from yourself, I mean.
Yeah, an open ecosystem. I mean, we have amazing people all over the world that have contributed to the World Wide Web. And if we're stuck in a walled garden system, a lot of people will not be able to contribute both tools and experiences. And an open ecosystem allows us to all participate, which is the power of the browser.
Sean, love that. And Alison, one thing from yourself, and then we'll have to jump off.
I absolutely agree with everything that's been said here, especially frictionless. What I do not want to see and really worries me is a bombardment of advertisements and commercialism. So that is what I'm hoping I don't see. But had a great time.
Thank you very much, Alison. Thank you to all the panelists. Please give them a follow, check them out on LinkedIn, connect with them, etc. Thank you to everybody. Up next, we also have another roundtable discussion, which we're going to be talking about. Where is it? Ways of building innovation that serves everyone. So we'll have another roundtable discussion then. And then we also have coming up next, our next session, which is AR and Eco Impact, linking immersive tech with climate action. That's it from me. Thank you, panelists, and I will see you very shortly. Goodbye.
Thanks,
Russell.
Bye-bye.